Welcome to the Breathe Easy podcast. Today we're joined by two esteemed guests, Sugandha ma'am as well as Aisshwarya. We'll be discussing a bunch of topics mainly related to the education sector, right, touching upon capital, private as well as public that's going into this space, and then slightly touching upon mainly topics around sustainability and sustainable curriculums. A quick introduction. Aisshwarya, as she says, is not limited to her titles. She started working very early at the age of 21 with one school. Right now, currently runs 4 massive educational institutions, consults many more, and is impacting the life of over 4,500 students. Right, so Anna ma'am is an Ashoka Fellow and the CEO, founder of AMBA. Right, and through her work, Sugandha ma'am has impacted the likes of several adults with intellectual disabilities, sort of looking towards training, educating, as well as looking for employment for them. Thank you guys for taking the time out and joining us today.
Thank you, Karan.
Yeah, thank you, Karan. Thank you for introducing the show, wonderful women sitting next to me.
Likewise.
There's so much that we've had before this podcast that we've interacted. I think it's a great day of learning for me.
Yeah, I think the camera setup took a little bit too long, so a lot of the conversations that I wanted to have here, we sort of touched upon before. But either ways, I think, Aisshwarya, we can start with you, right? And you've been in the education space now for about 8 years, right?
6.5, 7.
7, and started very early. So what drove you to starting work in such a space at such a young age?
I only corrected you not because I want to put myself over an experience, but because I feel one more year of experience is going to make me so much more empowered as a person, which I don't want to use in any conversation of mine, which is why I corrected you, Karan. But I think I've said this in a lot of places, that education wasn't by choice for me, it was by chance. But what happens is a lot of things that you do in life, probably you don't want to do it saying that it is your future, but accidentally you become so passionate about it and you enjoy doing it, and it's hard for someone to find what you enjoy and what you get a living out of to find. And I'm fortunate and I'm very grateful that I found something at a age that I am. It's crazy. If not many people my age have found what actually keeps them sustainable, because you spoke about sustainable in their living, but also enjoy their job every day. I get to be with children, I get to live like them, I get to be unconscious, unbiased like them, because that's the mindset I need to hold if I am empowering them. So it's a great job that I do. So I don't see any reason why I should not be in the field I am and the age I am. So I don't know why people ask me that question most of the time. But it is a great field to be at, because I think it's a change that you don't do for a day, but it's a change you do for life. By doing a product in entrepreneurship, you change someone's, or you help someone for that day, that moment, that particular situation. But what we do as a journey in education helps children develop their brain and help them to face challenges for life, because we help them set their mindset. So it's a very responsible, conscious, as well as a challenging job to do. And I wouldn't have asked for something more.
And coming into this space, and this is also why I sort of touched upon the age factor. At such a young age, you also now have visibility into the future, right? Because I think when the generation that we're part of has a lot more insight into what's going to come, right? So just touching upon that, what do you sort of see, for this forthcoming future, the major changes that are going to happen within the education landscape, right? How is technology going to be a part of it, and how is India, or, even the institutions you work with, going to adapt to such changes?
If you talk about the age factor, Karan, I feel we're all talking about young India, right? So when we're talking about young India, most of us are in an average age of me and you. Okay, we are the people who have to do something. We don't have people at a higher age group or a lower age group to bring about the change. We are the people who actually have to do something impactful. The country has to grow. So I don't see a factor of our age doing it. We have to do it. There's no choice. Okay, we can't wait till to become a 50 of a CEO of a company, or we can't wait. The more number at 28 can do it, we are progressing. So it is actually a progress report of the progress of my country. If more people get my age,
what's also important for young people to go forward to make big change. You can't wait, like you said, till 15 to make big change.
Yes.
So people like you who are so empowered, who are so absolutely inspiring, who need to be the future of India. Because India is not a small place. And we've got like millions and millions.
I feel that it's not a privilege to be the future of India. It is my responsibility to be the future of India.
Yeah.
What technology question that you asked me, Karan, I feel technology is not something that we have to give so much importance to. Like how spoons came in where we used to eat in hands.
Yeah.
Okay. How probably ACs came in when we used to use fans. Like that technology has come in as a catalyst to make our life much more easier.
Yeah.
We don't waste much time in taking up the phone, communicating to 100 people, getting all of them at a gathering, spending the resources on that. We don't have to do that anymore.
Yeah.
It is a tool to actually reduce the resources and create a bigger impact. That's all it is.
Like I said earlier, it's a way of life.
Yeah, it is.
Like having your telephone, it's not just technology, but information communications technology.
So technology is only a catalyst in education.
Absolutely.
It can never replace my teachers or facilitators. In fact, it could help my teachers in a huge way if they accept the change fast. Like technology did exist before COVID, but people were reluctant to use it probably because it was new to the market, okay? But COVID, fast-tracked the process so well that technology was like no choice. You had
adoption
to use
became,
it if you have to live.
Yeah.
Even like my Prime Minister came on technology to give a speech so that each of us realize what our responsibility is.
Yeah.
That's how powerful the medium became. Why not a principal use it to make an announcement?
Yeah.
It was just that small of a shift that had to happen. And today the same shift we're asking in classrooms.
Yeah.
So we shouldn't be giving so much importance to technology, but we should be talking about how technology can be used in different sectors.
Yeah.
From technology, now we're moved on to AI.
Yeah.
Right, a next updated version of the technology to make our lives easier.
Yeah.
Again, don't talk about AI where AI is going to disrupt us. Everything has a good and bad.
Yeah.
Like there are hundreds of desert shops coming up in our country for various reasons, but sugar is bad.
Yeah.
Are you stopping it? No. Like that AI will come into the country and AI will make the child's creativity maybe smaller, but the fact that you entertain them to actually come there and make sure you do something not for 3 hours to do a project, but in 3 hours you can do 10 projects and learn so much about that project should excite you.
Correct. So it's more of a catalyst.
Make it a curiosity element in your education system. Don't make it look like it's some demon and it's like a villain and you can't be close to it and it's causing a problem. The more you look at it that way, the more negative impact it's going to have. The more you say to a child, don't do that, he's going to do more, right? If I'm going to ask both of you, don't think of an apple, the first thing you'll be thinking is an apple.
Yeah.
But most of the time when we're affirming a child, we say, don't sit down there.
Yeah.
Don't stop talking. Don't watch the TV. Are we ever telling them what to do, right?
No. Yeah.
So small, tiny changes as us conscious people will bring in big changes in the education.
No, awesome. Thanks for that. I just want to switch gears over to you, Sugandha ma'am. Right, and we spoke about children and education, but the audience that you cater to is slightly, very different. Right, you're dealing with intellectually disabled adults. What drove you to take this up, number one, as a mission? Right, and then sort of what steps do you take ideally to ensure that, their education, their training, and then later on their employment, right, is a seamless process, right? And how can we sort of push this from, just AMBA and place them in mainstream jobs, right, across India? And I know this is a mission for you, so I just wanted you to sort of elaborate on that.
So, we have no choice. The people in the community we serve at AMBA are people with intellectual disability. And if you look at the gamut of intellectual disability, let's forget about the other disabilities. you'll find that 70% of intellectually disabled persons across India particularly have the ability to do repetitive jobs, have the ability to be able to maybe study, in an NIOS format of doing one subject at a time, to be able to go forward to do repetitive jobs. But the people we serve are at 30%. These are prenatal, natal, postnatal injuries that happen.
Yeah.
Deprivation of oxygen, other physical challenges because of a brain injury. And this was something I wasn't aware of right up to about 2000.
Yeah.
Because my journey was really what brought me into working with intellectual disability. I was in aviation and then in IT. And in IT, I was fortunate when I was saturating in aviation. I think at that point I was selling shares, market share and time share on the helicopters to the government when I met Sugandha Gupta, and he said, I want you to showcase all the different technologies that there are in a computer-driven atmosphere.
Yeah.
And it was then that I said, I'll do it if you let me, bring in the possibilities for all the disabilities. And at that time, I wasn't aware that this community existed.
Yeah.
And that project failed. And I think we hit upon that.
Yeah.
Like failure is sometimes the stepping stone for your future, in my case.
Yeah.
And so when it failed, this was the time my mentor, who had actually got me into aviation, Ashoka Fellow, he took over as chairman of Special Olympics.
Yeah.
And invited me onto the National Board of Special Olympics. And that's where I met these guys. 3 years down the line, a lot of research in 24 states. And I realized that, these guys had gone to Dublin for a sports competition. It was the International Special Olympic World Summer Games.
Yeah.
About 81 of them competed against 155 people. And they came back with 155 countries. And they came back with 110 medals. 37 were gold.
Yeah.
But I couldn't find one job for them,
Yeah.
I saw the Kirmanis of the world who were there, empowered within SBI. And today there's a place for every sports person who comes back with a medal. Forget about gold. If you get a bronze and, you're fighting a solution for them.
Yeah.
But not to digress too far, it was post this period. We were going from ministry to ministry. I tried to see what kind of jobs we could get for our athletes. And I got a no from everyone. Even Dr. Kalam said no, because he said, how can these people not?
Yeah.
But Manishankar Iyer, who was then the minister for petroleum,
Yeah.
he gave us 100 lakhs. And that's when I distanced myself from Special Olympics and started AMBA. AMBA today is my life.
Yeah.
It's been a journey of not knowing what to do. But today I realized that we have about 10,000 plus people all over India. Generally, a normal family, when you send your daughter out,
Yeah.
you worry about them at puberty especially, right? But can you imagine how much more difficult it would be for the mother of someone with intellectual disabilities, where they don't have the power of reasoning? It's really, really hard. So I had to think about first those safe havens where, I could keep them safe. And today we've got 475 plus 13 new centers that we've scaled to this year, where we use existing infrastructure. We collaborate with, registered organizations who understand this community, and then help them set up small centers for learning. And then,
As you talk to me and as you tell me the story of how difficult it was to, see a people with disability to think, to actually process and take part in life, I'm actually wondering on how we as schools or education system today are not even expanding our full potential of people who can actually have the full potential to intellectually think. But we don't even, do our justice in making sure they think up to their full potential. We're not tapping their curiosity to that level. They have disability to think that way, I agree. They're deprived of that capacity, but we are not. The normal schools and stuff, we're not deprived of it. Still, we don't put in an effort. It's sad.
Don't sell yourself short. I think you're already there.
No, I'm not. I'm just like...
But that's a very good question, And I'm going to be selfish and talk about the fact that most of the people who come to me have gone through an education system. Because most parents are, how would you put it, in denial. And so they push their kids into mainstream schools. And it's just a journey of low self-esteem. It's just a journey of bullying and, insensitive people around them. And after the 6th standard, when they can't sit for exams, they are sent home. This is the reason why we started AMBA, to be able to actually, it's like an early intervention that happens at 16.
Yeah.
When the first thing we do is we build up their confidence level. So all our curriculum, which is now copyrighted all across India, it dwells on leadership. Leadership at a very small level, which then goes on to leadership at another level altogether.
It was very important. They need to lead themselves with bad leaderships.
And one of the things we've done is we do have a curriculum for people who are 5 to 15. And I've tried to, push it into mainstream schools because it's good even for people who are regular, like you and I.
Yeah.
But that is what we need, to change mindsets, to take them forward in parallel, while realizing the reality of their limitations.
Yeah, and I want to sort of build upon that, right? So, as you're aware and you as well, that I've been brought up with a sister with an intellectual disability, right? And if anything, right, it's really improved the way that I look at life. It's built empathy into me, which I don't think I would have had before. And my other sister, Zina, right, she actually had the privilege of going to school with Janvi because Sapphires has an opportunity school where they have a dedicated school for, people with intellectual disabilities. And then they bring them up in the same environment, with sort of people that are going through a regular education. And there's something I want to discuss later, but in terms of inclusive education, right, how can we bring people with intellectual disabilities into, a stream or realm of mainstream education, right? And how can we drive that awareness within schools, within students that are very young to sort of solve the problem of bullying?
I'm so glad you asked this question, Karan, because what's been happening over the years in Sapphires and all the other brilliant schools that are inclusive is that they're trying to bring them into the mainstream way of learning. Now, if you were doing a PhD in mathematics and somebody asked you to switch and do something in arts, we would be intellectually limited also, right? There wasn't a way forward for them to be on an equal space with their counterparts in schools. So what we've done is we realized most of the people who are doing AI back-end work, who are doing work within Bombay Stock Exchange and all the brokers that we are working with, and etc. Most of them are people who don't even know the A, B, or C. So we've found a way within visual matching processes for them to do it all. So I think to answer your question, we've got to think more out of the box. I would love to sit with some mainstream schools and, work within their comfort levels to change mindsets of parents as much as teachers and students to be able to look further. Before I don't want to hog the thing, but I'll never forget Chandani when she got her first salary. Do you remember what she did?
No.
You don't? Okay. So the first time she got some money in her hands was while she was doing training. While our youngsters are training, we give them, in those days we were giving 500 rupees a month. Today we give them 1,500. And she went home with her envelope with the money inside. She went to her grandmother and said, in our family, Nani, Dadi, no?
Yeah.
She said, my father and I are the only people who earn. Do you just see that sense of pride? I'll never forget it. I'll never forget it. When your grandmother told me this, at that time you guys were much younger and you all weren't in the working space. But to feel that she and her father were the only people who were bringing money back home, that was so powerful.
I know, I mean.
It was absolutely powerful.
She was empowered that day. That's what I conclude out of the entire conversation. She was empowered that day and don't need. That's going to make a huge difference to her.
And I have a million stories actually like this where, parents get totally overwhelmed when they see that first pay package. 80 of our centers are in villages and very small towns where the parents don't have work. These are the guys who put food on the table.
Karan, but you were talking about inclusivity with me, right?
Yeah.
I don't know much about disabled kids because I have not handled much. We're trying to be an inclusive school in my institutions where we have children with ADHD.
You have a spectrum within your own range of regular people.
Yeah, we have the time to cover and all that. But we have children with disabilities and all kind. But what I would like to talk about this inclusivity aspect is what I faced with RT.
Yeah.
Right? The Right to Education Act was imposed and said that children with underprivileged has to be studying with children with normal privileged schools. That became right? That was the initial stages of my initial journey into education. So I was also a learner. I was not making decisions to say whether it was right or wrong. It was something that the government had imposed and we were trying to actually experiment the system and see whether it was working. It was genuinely not about how much money was losing out of the system or how many people are coming in or whether the order was. But what I genuinely saw when I walked into those classrooms where my normal children and the RT children were part of it, there was a total, complete disconnect between the children. Like when you go to a class, it's a community of them, right? There was a complete disconnect. It is not because the normal children were not mingling with the other children. It was the fact that these RT children were trying to curse.
Know how.
Yeah, they were trying to curse the environment around them. Why am I not getting this? It was more a feeling of deprivedness that was, very common among all of those children than the gratitude that, wow, I get to study in this school.
Yeah.
When you get something as a reward system, it works into an empowered feeling only when you feel rewarded and not deprived of it. The moment you start feeling deprived of the situation that, I don't have this, I don't have that, it's not a mindset. Because they're going back home to again live back in the same houses, eat the same food. They won't be able to eat a sandwich or a burger that another child is getting, even if the school is providing them in their lunch.
Yeah, and I think that can be a confidence killer also for...
It's not. You're at the end of the day, you're not being able to speak up openly with the other kids in front.
But Aisshwarya, you made a beginning when you know that. And if the teachers could be sensitized and I would say educated to find a way around. I understand that they're going back to the same thing.
I agree with your point, but I feel the age in which RT was introduced is so bad that your neurological brains are still developing. The child has not come to conclusions by decisions are being made.
Too young.
They're too young. Maybe if you get the child at probably a 4th standard or 5th standard, where they're making decisions, they're learning empathy, they're learning how to share with them.
You can't even segregate them.
You can't even segregate them. They're learning to share. They're learning to understand it's okay to get so much money. They're learning concepts of social awareness on their textbook. It's okay. But at an LKG, first standard level, where for you, friendship is sharing that apple and eating. For you, friendship is what have you got on your lunchbox and open that and eat that together. But you don't get the same lunchbox when you go back home.
Yeah. So I had this challenge at the course center when I first started. I had people who were a very small segment who were coming in cars and, who had who came in with more than 2 things on for lunch and things like that. And initially, I did find it difficult. But I used to get them together and, started making buddies with people from different environments. And you won't believe it, Aishwarya. There are some children who come with just rice and a chutney and nothing more. But today, there are people who bring extra food to be able to share with the rest of them. But I'm working with just 160 people.
No,
and you're talking about,
ma'am. I'm saying the progress has happened. The teachers have put in efforts, and like RD children have become better than my normal children. They are in fact mentoring each other. Their best selves. It doesn't matter to them, and we have worked on it.
But I get your point.
On a large scale, okay, I am a school.
Yeah.
I can only talk about my school, right? I put in effort. I taught the teachers to do it. I'm sure 100 more do it. There's 75,000 schools in my country who are not run by government. Will all of us take up the same responsibility to do it? We don't have enough resources to do it.
I think probably one of the things we have to do, and I'm not talking as AMBA or as a single thing, is to have a kind of get-together of like-minded people from the different environments of this schooling system and pick up the best practices and put them together as a document that could thereafter drive the schools around the country.
I agree with you. That's the future of education. There's no point reinventing the wheel, as you rightly said again and again. By me coming to education, I'm saying, okay, what am I going to do here? No, I need to take on what you have done, improvise on it, structure it with my ideas, and give it next to another partner who's going to build it up.
And that's process. That's process, because it's when you need to be a team. And when it was just we were just about 31 centers in 9 states. When it became a we, today we are nearly over 500 centers in 27 states in India. So it's everyone getting together, and it's not easy. I know.
I find it very hard. Like today we've progressed, but when we started, it was a tough journey out there in order to do that. I felt like it's better I do another section with these people, because IT has groomed them till a certain age, till they count up to 7 years, 8 years, where their cognitive skills are working, where their decision-making skills are working. Then I put both of them together. Then when my classmates will go to an orphanage for their weekend we share project, they find it so happy to actually share what they have. They don't look at them as deprived or anything like that. They find it so happy to get it back. So they are mentally, physically, and emotionally prepared to understand their situation. At a first standard, they're not even prepared to share a toy with their own brother and sibling. We're teaching sharing and caring.
Yeah, because they don't have enough to share.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So, we really have to place that. Don't take decisions. Take a decision based on all aspects of a child. When we're talking holistic education, even a decision should impact them holistically, has been my argument in the education sector.
And the right kind of guidance actually is what is it. I just had one major experience in mainstream schools. I think this was in 2010. As I was walking into mainstream schools, I found that kids were getting bullied so badly, or they were ignored, So I had just come back from a conference where they were talking about signature campaigns and things like that. So I was with Special Olympics at that time, and I went across to the next board meeting and I said, why don't we do a signature campaign? In the next 3 months, my team tried the best they could, all the area directors, and we got about 30,000 signatures from about 30 schools, which was just not enough.
Yeah.
So sometimes an element that motivates them helps. So what we did was, my chairman and I, we went to Bombay and we met Akshay Kumar, who was the brand ambassador for Special Olympics. And he said, I've come if you do something that will bring in a lot of crowds. And to cut a long story short, we did a fashion show where I was very concerned about this, because I didn't want the focus on what we were trying to do, to bring empathy to our community, to get distracted by a fashion show.
Yeah.
So what we did was we said, could the models in the finale, walk with our youngsters
Yeah.
with intellectual disability. And again, to cut a long story short, from 11 states, we had 10 million signatures in the next 3 months. Okay, and Akshay Kumar walked with 2 of my guys with intellectual disability. And it was a moment.
Yeah.
It was a
I can just
moment.
imagine it.
And I mean, the whole world was talking about it because social media then took it forward. And
Yeah.
so, yeah.
All right. So Aisshwarya, you touched upon RTE, right? And also how that sort of, had a role within private institutions. Now, just wanted to dive a little deeper into that. That you obviously.
It's a great initiative. I just feel it has to be channelized better.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like we should have given more time for the private schools to actually manage themselves, find a channelization,
Yeah.
probably 3-4 schools together, take over a government school, run the school just like how you run a normal school on them, equip them up to a certain level, like an elementary standard, then get into a middle school in the normal ways. So it would have made access much more easier and the process much more smoother.
Yeah.
Which didn't happen. It was so much chaos. Like a wealthy person was trying to come and say that, I'm a RT play and RT or I'm at an RT level and I'm able to go to this school, but it was coming in different ways. Like public sector schools were getting annoyed. So the process didn't gel well.
Yeah.
So as senior 1.3 million students getting into the education system in Karnataka, I'm not even talking about the country.
Yeah.
Okay? And we have a lack of teachers.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know how far, like, what's mind-boggling me right now with sitting next to her is the fact that I don't even have quality teachers in my system, in my state, trying to give a normal basic education to empower children with all their senses fine.
Yeah.
Okay? But she's been able to find special educators who are specially challenged, teaching specially challenged children. It's wonderful. It's amazing.
Without even touching the laptop ever in their lives.
Touching their laptop. Like, it's crazy. But we're really facing a challenge in the education system. With all that happening, if you're going to keep disrupting the system, the government and the private sector have to work in collaboration to make the system better and make it smoother for the public.
Yeah.
Whether it's private sector, private aided sector, or the government sector, right?
Yeah.
Even the private schools should help the government schools to increase their standards.
But how do you drive something like that? That's number one. What is step one?
It's easy to take ownership. If I'm a school, I run a program called We Care, We Share. Okay?
Yeah.
I'm 3 schools at Rajarajeswari Nagar. I have 3 different government schools next to me.
Yeah.
Okay, last year I tried to do this program. I'm not doing much. I'm not spending money. What I'm trying to do is send my coordinators, my principals to that school to see how children are facing. If I am having a children's day, if I am having a Republic Day, I'm inviting those children to my school to experience that. 6 days in a year is what I'm trying to engage those students with me. It's a start.
Yeah, I agree it's a start, but in terms of doing this at a scalable level, right? You as an individual.
It's so easy to scalable if the government
about everyone
on the private school saying that you should deploy 1 teacher to the neighboring school around you. Don't take responsibility of children. Take responsibility of the teacher, because 1 teacher can teach 30 children.
Yeah.
Aishwarya, I was also thinking at that very nascent level, when the teachers are going through training themselves.
Yeah.
There needs to be a more holistic way of training them. To be able to not just about coping with the different levels, the spectrum of the society that is there in every school, but also to enrich empathy. Because empathy is not just required for people who are disabled or people who are coming from a low strand of society. You need empathy also for people who come from a very rich family, where there's so much of pressure on them, on how they need to go forward and do what. Yours is the perfect family, Karan. I swear, the way your parents have brought up, each of them to go out and do whatever is within their wherewithal. But let me just come back to this. I think that's key.
Yes, ma'am. I agree with you that teachers have to be empathetic towards children, and that's like the core of the education system. But
But also being taught how to cope with the different segments of society that come forward.
Yeah, exactly. My question is, who's teaching? Okay, we're only asking my teachers to be empathetic towards children. But is someone being empathetic towards them and giving them that space and that mindset and that
opportunity to think out of the box.
Think out of the box and give empathy towards my children? No, it's not happening in the system today. Like a teacher, I'm sorry to say, but as the person representing the student administration community and the teacher community, teachers don't feel sometimes proud to call themselves teachers, whether it's salary, whether it is the conditions in
they need to be paid more.
Teacher profession,
definitely.
Teacher profession has become an unbiased way of saying it's a comfortable place to be in. I can come at 8 o'clock or at 5 o'clock.
I couldn't make it somewhere else, so I'm
sorry, no.
Yeah.
Like I call it a job of a teacher, just like a job of a heart plant surgery.
Yeah.
Okay, at a heart plant surgery, at least you have a timing and you're planting that heart into the person.
Yeah.
And it's such an important job. The teacher is planting the brain of the child for 10 years in her career.
Yeah.
You know what an important job that is? People don't understand the responsibility of their job.
Yeah.
Or the system itself, the environment doesn't empower them enough to do failures, to try something new, to be okay to be wrong sometimes. If a child make a mistake, you're not allowed to scold him, you're not allowed to do, you're okay to give a chance. We're accepting. But what if a teacher makes a mistake?
Yeah.
She cannot. She's not expected to. Like her persona and her expectation is a teacher cannot. She's replaceable.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, with that fear in my head that if I do a mistake, if I do something to this child, where will I have the creativity and the freedom to think out of the box and bring in new ideas into my table?
Yeah. And how much are we even doing to educate educators, right? And that's something I actually want to understand as well.
The biggest gap in the system is because we don't have teacher training institutes in our country, which will train the educators or the trainers in a holistic way in order to go to students and train them again. Like we have various courses today. You open Instagram, the first thing that says is, how do you get your followers more on Instagram? How do you get paid followers here? How do you improve your branding and marketing strategy? That's what you get.
Yeah.
Tell me a course that has said, okay, if you're a teacher today or if you're even doing your job as a trainer in a corporate, how do you train your staff more better? How do you keep them equipped? How do you keep their curiosity?
How do you cope with these large numbers that are thrown at you?
I don't see courses like that. I don't think people
so many more people that our teachers have to address than in normal.
The courses for write your tagline or your Instagram are taken up more by people who are not even benefiting from it.
Yeah.
If you join a class like this, it will benefit you one day in life.
Yeah.
Right?
No, 100%.
Look what's selling.
Yeah.
What are you getting by being an influencer tomorrow? By having 100 followers, can you earn a lakh a month? No, you can't. There's so much more to it. There's so much that you have to do. There's so much interpersonal skill that you have to write a mail to someone. You have to convince that person. You have to sell something that they ask you to do. There's so much work.
Yeah.
But you're spending something on that's 1% of the work that you do and saying you're okay to do that. But you're not spending that amount and energy in training yourself to be empathetic, training yourself to have a growth mindset, training yourself to read a book every day, training yourself to write what you think of your day, how your day went through and reflect on it. You're not doing such things.
I think by that sense, I think the public perception of you is becoming more important than what you actually are, right? So people aren't working on self-growth, but they're working on bolstering their public image and
also giving teachers that opportunity to spend time with themselves in a school and to be able to, sometimes get out of the box and do an activity that has nothing to do with the school.
Yeah.
To bring them closer together. And I'll give you an example. A few weeks ago, I was reading The Alchemist for maybe the 15th or 20th time. And I said, why am I doing it alone? Okay.
Yeah.
So I brought my team together, not the intellectually disabled people, but the core team.
Yeah.
And every day I made one person pull out a name, from a hat kind of thing. And each person was reading just about 2 paragraphs or so. And then we were translating it among ourselves so that everyone, even the cook and the kitchen downstairs and the person in the security, they are included every day at about 10 to 4. And you will not believe it, they didn't like it initially.
Yeah.
Because they didn't want to read aloud in front of others. They were not too confident. But today it's a rage. In just 15 days, it's a rage.
Yeah.
Even before I call people, they are all there. And my point is that if you can get all the teachers together in a level platform, it has to be across the level platform. It doesn't have to be outside the school, inside your school. To be able to do an activity that's not something that they would normally do. You might just find that, they get a lot more comfortable with
We do a lot like that, ma'am. And something called circle time. We send them to a 1-day holiday excursion, which is chill. We do a lot of lunches for them so that they talk about, I'm sure, body-based conversation where we call guests and they ask questions about their life. We're having one tomorrow. So we try to keep them away. Actually, that it's so true to be something more than just your professional life is what I understand.
And a very consistent one that keeps happening at regular intervals, so that there is room to improve.
No, I realized this, ma'am. 3 days ago, show closed. That is coincidentally, I'm narrating the story to you. 3 days ago, I was doing interviews. We're doing a lot recruitment for teachers, right, in my school. So we're doing a lot. So I was interviewing for one of my high positions of schools, like a coordinator position and stuff. So we were talking to her. She was very academically focused. So something in me, tickled in and said, Aishwarya, asked her a question saying, what are you apart from your job?
Yeah.
It just I was seeing some reasons that it had come. So I asked her, tell you that there's something that you do apart from your job. She stopped herself for 3 minutes.
Yeah.
She didn't know what to say.
Yeah.
I realized that she's been in her experience for so many years of this. She's never thought about what she does apart from her job.
Yeah.
She's great. She's talented. And I started thinking to myself, if someone asks me a question and show what are you beyond your job? I mean, we talk about empowerment, we talk about change. Who are you beyond your job? I started questioning myself. I should be ready with an answer tomorrow because we often don't ask ourselves in the time that we are hustling with, saying, I want to reach somewhere, putting goals, looking at someone else and not looking at where we want to be one day. We forget to ask our own selves, saying, who are we outside our job that we do?
No, the second that you said that, my mind actually went towards the question I blanked out. So I was like, it becomes a bit difficult.
Youngsters, Karan, that we're talking, one of the questions that we need to ask ourselves is tomorrow when someone asks us, who are we apart from the job that we do? We need an answer for that. Otherwise, we're not complete.
Yeah.
We're really asking for something that actually will not be of meaning to us tomorrow because we should be able to do something that doesn't give us a living, that doesn't have to get up every day, but be able to if you ask me, I'll go to a room, put on music and dance. That about me. That's what I do outside my job. But otherwise,
imagine that's something being very common too.
Yeah, I love dancing, man. I'm not learned it, but I could now music and then I go on or
don't need anyone else at this moment.
But it's a question that probably most of us stop before we answer it.
No, I think
no clarity.
I think I'm going to include this as part of my interview questions as well.
I'm sure. She's talented. She also is shocked. No one asks you a question in it.
And we are so much more than what we do.
Yeah.
It's just that you need the time to think about it.
We're always trying to tell people, okay, this is what we can do in our job. This is our vision. This is that. But is job everything?
Yeah.
Job is a part of your life. You have family. You have your, food. You have your travels. You have everything. Yeah. We're not talking about balance. There's no balance when you're hustling.
No, and exactly. Being a founder.
How you cope with parents?
That's a joke. It's very hard for me not to cope with my parents, but I'm coping up with my in-laws very well. To be honest, I think one of the biggest reasons why I'm able to progress the way I'm able to progress is the family around me is a part of my progress. Like, I don't really have to go back home every day to the fact and worry about what happens.
Yeah.
I don't.
But Aishwarya, how do you deal with your parents in school?
Oh, parents in school.
Because that is a journey you have to take your parents forward with.
It's hard. It is very hard. They are the most important stakeholders of the education system.
They're a big resource.
Who aren't ready to change,
Yeah.
but who expect a lot of change. If I might say it again, they don't want to change, but they expect a lot of change from the system, which is not fair.
Yeah.
Like today we talk about mental health, right? We were discussing the same. 1 out of every 5 child in our country today have a mental health problem.
Yeah.
So mental health and physical health have to
Depression is one of the biggest killers today.
Even we're talking about young India, all young Indians between the age group of 25 to 35 years have depression problems. And the root cause of the depression goes back to a childhood story.
Yeah.
90% of the cases. This is what a psychologist told.
Yeah.
And I run a company also for mental health for children called MyPeagu, where I'm a part of it. So I know this is what it's true. But parents are not able to understand that if your child falls down, gets hurt, and he's not able to stand up, has a fracture, how important it is to take him to a doctor or orthopedic and get him sorted. It is equally important to take him to a happiness officer whom we called a counselor and allow him to discuss what he thinks in his mind.
Yeah.
I'm not asking to find a solution. I'm only asking to throw out it and discuss.
But with something.
Discard some of the things because that will actually help them go forward without those cobwebs that are holding you back.
So parents can't understand this. Parents are the problem where they find teachers have to know everything. Today I have cases where, ma'am, if I had a fight in my school, my mother would have said, it's your problem. I'm not giving you a new sharpener or a new pencil because you've lost it in come.
Yeah.
Today parents are going to come in front of my cabin, ask the principal, can I see the CCTV camera? Why this is missing in my child? That's the kind of authority we've given them. Education has slowly starting to become a paid business from a service-oriented business.
Yeah.
I get your point, but I ignored that huge value that we had in parents and concentrated too much on the community I was serving without realizing they are part of that community.
Yeah.
Also.
Biggest part is
The biggest part. And as a resource during the pandemic, everybody was working from home. Schools could do that. But all of our 475 centers were closed within 3 weeks of the pandemic.
Yeah.
How could I get our guys to work from home?
Yeah.
So that's when we realized, in fact, it was my director technology came up with that idea. He said, why don't you teach the mothers of our children in the villages, especially where it was more impactful, on how to give their youngsters hotspot internet connection?
Yeah.
And we distributed the laptops, and before we knew it, we were working from home.
Yeah. I remember.
You remember that?
During COVID, I was sitting with Chandni, setting up her laptop, trying to get her to work.
But right?
Yeah.
But here, our families in villages were never ever come across, even though their kids are working with laptops, functioning, using the computer in the school. They had never touched a laptop.
I don't know if you realize, ma'am, you're not just empowered those children, you've empowered their families to accept the process of learning to their child.
But I'm just wondering, is there any way we could do that with parents of regular children also? I know it will be a big disrupt before you get something in. But I feel that if you could maybe bring in, and it would have to be a pro bono position.
Yeah.
To be able to, put a team together to discuss segments of what is a challenge with him. I'm sorry.
No, ma'am, it is possible. We're trying to do that in different bedrooms. Like, as a system itself in my school. So it's not just we're trying to talk about mental health children, but we're having sessions for parents.
Yeah.
Like, I believe that my parents should talk about my school is not my child's school, but my school. We're trying to have a sports program for children, for parents coming in. I'm trying to have a Zumba class for my
Yeah.
It's lovely.
Parents are coming on a Saturday and talking about football classes in my... parents come to my school for all such things.
Yeah.
And all my speakers are all my parents because I want to create an ownership of the school for themselves. I don't want anyone...
How can we bring that into the system? It's a hard ask.
It is hard task only because...
We bring it into...
It's a hard task only because parents have a lifestyle and a life and a support system for why they're doing this for their child outside the school system. And we all have a busy life, if us, So how many of them will be willing to be a part of this community is a question mark. And why I say
it doesn't have to be a regular thing. It could just be one-off when you have a problem.
I guess it has to be also highly parent-driven, more equally school-driven, but also highly parent-driven for that type of
because this is something that's not happening the world over.
The problem is it's a one-way street. I don't think there's going to be any objection from any school or educational institution.
I want to agree to the notice that homeschooling has become so much around the world, man. That 10% of education today across the world is happening through homeschooling. 10%. Correct. After COVID. That's a huge number.
Massive.
In Europe, I was shocked with this number. Even in India today, 10% for India is not the number, but across the world, right?
Yeah.
And probably 1% is happening in India, but there are a lot of mothers and
with the 1% is such a huge number.
It is happening up. It's true. Homeschooling has started.
But then how do you build out social skills, right? Is it also not a cause of concern?
Homeschooling parents have created communities within themselves where on a Wednesday they all bring them to a center and they mingle, and the children are finding it, nice to collaborate with other homeschool children. They're connecting on WhatsApp. Technology has been a huge catalyst for the process to happen. I know about 6-7 kids right now who are doing homeschooling.
Yeah.
And they're doing well. Like, there's nothing that probably everyday, communication with their peers is what's missing. But the parents are putting so much effort to be a parent teacher. What you call as mother teacher in schools is what the mother has become to the child at home. And it's happening till the 8th standard level today. It's
insane.
Far away.
Oh, that's incredible.
COVID started this journey for us in education.
Yeah.
That's a bit. And the Montessori style of learning in America around talks about how your normal home methodologies can be used in teaching, whether it's like making parathas or whether it is making building blocks like what you do at home, like how you make your fire at home. Those are the techniques that are used even in education system to make children understand different things.
Yeah.
So that's basically a curriculum that has been put up, and there's a homeschool association that happens in each country. You can be a part of that association. You can choose which curriculum of examination that the child wants to take at the 9th and the 10th level. You can enroll to that curriculum. You can go to a near school, write that examination. It's all possible.
Yeah.
It's just a will and a way to do it.
Yeah. Awesome.
It's just taking ownership. But to take ownership is the biggest challenge in the mindset that's happening.
For all of us, to degrees.
So just wanted to now switch gears, and touch upon a couple other topics that, I wanted clarity on from you guys. Number one was also capital inflows, right? Is something I wanted to speak to you about. Is CSR funding obviously is crucial to, how you run AMBA as well, right? Now, a lot of that capital deployment, at least from what I've seen, right, being a part of, CSR consulting for a very long time before I started Breathe, is that all this capital is going specifically towards healthcare, education, right now, like as we discussed before, spectrum of sort of engagements across environment as well. But special learning, right, is a space that's been ignored, right? And how do you bring that into the forefront for corporates to actually take a look into something like this? I know you're working directly with corporates, but how do you sort of take that to the next level?
So I think very early, in the journey, I realized that you need to deliver.
Yeah.
If you start delivering, then you find that people stay with you. And when I say deliver, it had to be sustainable to a certain level.
Yeah.
So if you take the whole gamut of AMBA across India, we have a core center in Bangalore.
Yeah.
And this is a center that does all the training, all the research, all the pilots for work, and also brings in the business.
Yeah.
Right? And our spokes are the guys all over India who deliver the learning
Yeah.
initially and then take the same people into doing back-end work.
Yeah.
Now, in all of this, we realized right from the word go, I think I went out for funding only in 2015.
So
From 2004 to 2015, I didn't even have a proper ATG in place
yeah.
because I felt it was really important for me to understand that it could be sustained with work at the nation level, at the spoke level. So that was one thing. So by the time we started looking out for funding, we realized that we were already delivering a certain amount of sustainability at the spoke centers.
Yeah.
And that is the reason why people kind of looked at us. But it's the most difficult space whatsoever.
Yeah.
Because you would know that within the CSR, their own priorities keep changing.
Exactly.
Today it could be health, tomorrow it could be education, it could be mainstream, it could be people with disabilities. And today the new thing is that they want everything, a holistic requirement.
Yeah.
Which I think is pushing our limits to get there, to be able to sustain the ability to get the funding.
Yeah.
Okay. So it's a very difficult space, Karan. But I just thank God for the fact that we've survived the pandemic, and because of which a lot of people are reaching out to us.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of intelligence in this space.
Yeah.
A lot of intelligence. And you need to deliver.
Yeah.
You need to deliver what you say you're going to do when you ask for the money.
Yeah.
And then it's not going to be too difficult. I hope that answers your question.
No, more than a lot.
Adding to that CSR point, Karan, sorry, but I have to make the statement.
Yeah.
Saying that, on CSR, every time, like, I don't know much about it, but little that I've been understood and been a part of the journey for about 6 years now. I just know that CSR, everyone takes it as a responsibility.
Yeah.
It's high time you move that into a leadership opportunity.
Yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
You have the money, you're spending it for something else as a cause. You might as well showcase it as an example and impactful cause and be leaders in what cause you're supporting. She wouldn't have to go and ask for funds because her cause is so impactful. And if you are collaborating with a person like her, for example, you should be like, I'm a leader in that process.
Yeah.
Which is why I'm impacting her, The impact
Absolutely.
is so huge. So don't take CSR as a responsibility. Take it as a leadership opportunity.
Yeah.
It's also a very difficult role for them to, head a CSR
Just
project.
like how you're proud of a product that you've released out and you've done crores of millions of dollars that you're celebrating and you're getting that amount of it. Be equally proud of the project that you're supporting and you're celebrating through your CSR.
Feeling of ownership should be there.
If that happens, every CSR will become an impactful change. And I'm not saying we're not doing something like that. I've seen great examples of great companies, even startups, small startups have taken up CSR as a leadership activity and have done wonders, So just this mindset shift that, I have to do it if the government don't have to come and solve it.
Mindset.
It's about, I have to do it because, I have to run a company with good records. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Do it because, wow, I can advertise that as a part of my journey in the process that I've reached here from point A to point B.
My achievement.
Yeah, I think that's a lot of what I was also trying to say before we sort of started off the podcast as well, is that something like impact has to be ingrained within the company's DNA. It just can't be something that you do externally. Similarly to as we're looking at something like ESG today, that sustainability is now becoming a core function of business. It's not like it's a separate function, but all departments, have to contribute towards it. It's becoming top 1, top 2, top 3 strategy objectives for a company to achieve. Similarly, impact, has to make its way up there for it to sort of make that large scale effect.
That's already there. It's about you to choose what is your 1, 2, 3.
Yeah.
Impact, sustainability, education, health is all the way there. Right? You can't be all.
Yeah.
You need to choose
Yeah, but I'm
one
grateful
and
that
stay
things
there.
are so much better now than what they were when I first started.
I'm sure.
So, I mean, the thinking, we sort of kind of merged into a common
CSR today
space
has been about what do I get if I do this. But the question is, what can I do?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That should be the first question.
It's never what do I do. It's always like what do I get.
Yeah. And the mindset needs to shift.
Yeah. I mean, I've not been in the space so long. Little that I've understood and seen conversations.
head on.
This is what is happening, and that's so sad.
Yeah.
But it's a good space. I must tell you,
It's made a lot of progress.
a lot of progress. And people from the other side of the world have also realized, that it's got to be meaningful.
Yeah.
But they also need to understand that there are limitations. So in our case, for instance, people with intellectual disabilities across the spectrum, someone with an IQ of 11 may be an excellent trainer for a special educator, but he wouldn't be able to deliver as much in the process. So across the spectrum, when you are taking the funds, you have the ability to give them the possibility of the deliverable. But it could change by the time you actually deliver. But I suppose that's the case with everything, right? It's not just...
Ma'am, but then how do you speak about delivery, but how do you measure impact, right? Because when you're sort of responding to any donor in terms of CSR, right, they're also trying to measure impact, not just...
It's just the same as the rest of the world. Yeah, it's just the same. You say you're going to deliver so many people into work, and you have to make sure that you deliver those many people into work.
But is it purely numeric? Right, because, and
So-
being in the space that you are, and I've seen it, right, for example, with my sister again, her entire lifestyle was shifted after going to AMBA, right? How do you quantify something like that and deliver that to?
I think when it comes to your relationship with the mainstream, it has to be deliverables with numbers. But within AMBA, what we do is all the different quotients that we kind of assess over a period of time. It's all around 5 stars.
Yeah.
Okay, so if it's an emotional quotient, we have just 5 stars, and we have a baseline form where these kind of things are documented. And as you go forward, it changes. And for someone like me, if I look at the average of their delivery over a month, if it is less than the number of stars that I saw the previous month, then I act on it.
Yeah.
But if I see instead of 3 stars at an average, it's gone up 4. So we made it a little easy.
Yeah.
Not easy on everyone, but assessing progress has become easy because of the fact that you're not writing sagas about the students but then where mainstream relationships are concerned, it's only around numbers.
Got it.
It doesn't work otherwise.
I think we'll just transition towards sustainability, right? And sustainable curriculums. And I wanted to understand from both of you, Aisshwarya, Sugandha ma'am, that, things are changing constantly, especially after COVID, right? So how are we teaching in new concepts like sustainability, because so crucial for the next generation to have these concepts imbibed in them as they sort of grow, right? How are we making that part of the curriculum? What is a sustainable curriculum, right? And how do educators sort of build this into children at a very early stage so that they can have a larger impact as they sort of progress?
Karan, talking about sustainability, we've been talking about SDG goals in every probable program that we do at a school level, higher education level, at a company level, at an entrepreneurship level, anywhere, right? But if you ask me, it's all about building a sustainable mindset in children in order to progress, not anything to do with sustainability at a school level apart from that. Okay, I understand green campus, I understand hunger problems, etc. In fact, if I have to share a story, in one of my organizations, when we went to a third standard school, we were talking about sustainable goals for some program.
Yeah.
There was one point that said hunger management. So third standard children raised a question to my children, my teacher, asking, what is hunger, man?
Yeah.
Okay, this was a shock to us.
I can.
I mean, for me, 2 years ago, when this question was asked, it was just after COVID. I thought COVID has understood hunger. But no, but my children were still questioning what was hunger. That's at end. They know what hunger was. So we as a school did a drive and tried to see on how we could collect all the food wastage of children of that class. Collected it over 2-3 days, waited for it to smell in the class so that they understand by wasting so much food.
Yeah.
And what you're not having every day is lunch that we're making you skip is hunger. We had to show the feeling to them because they have never seen it outside.
Yeah.
So what we're seeing in India today and talking about sustainability, the fact that there is such a huge gap between the privileged India to the unprivileged India, the same gap exists between what we understand by sustainable India to unsustainable India.
Yeah.
People who are actually living with sustainability are those unprivileged people, not because they have to, but because they have no choice.
Yeah.
They have to eat a certain amount because that's only how much they get. Yeah. They live in a 2,000 rupees electricity because that's all they can afford for its sustainability. Yeah. But we privileged are saying, okay, let's be sustainable off all the lights. It's something new that we're doing by saving energy, but a lot of our people around the countries, their way of life.
Yeah, so I actually have this app on my phone. It's called Earth Hero, right? Which allows you to track your emissions as an individual, right? And I use it because I'm very conscious. I like to also offset where I can. But when I look at my emissions versus the global average and India average, I'm at a much higher position, and it's purely because of new things that I'm buying or flights that I'm taking for business purposes, but that's creating a highly consciousness. And you need to build that consciousness in. For me, for example, it only started in 2015, was the first time I was introduced to something called sustainability. And that was when I was selected for some competition where I had to go to the UA in New York. Right, and this was the launch of the Sustainable Development Goals. And my journey actually started from there. That's when I sort of became obsessed with it. But good to know that, even at a third standard level, that such concepts are sort of making it into the curriculum.
So we are talking about sustainability where we're saying recycle waste, put it in different bins. Okay, we're doing. But at the end of the day, for that to become great execution plans, the executors have to believe it.
Yeah.
That needs a mindset.
Yeah.
Right? I might put 100 plans in place, but if a child or a teacher decides to throw the, chocolate packet or something not in a dustbin or not in the right dustbin but somewhere else, the entire system is gone with one action.
But let me tell you something. Both of you are calculus for tomorrow.
Yeah.
I've probably got 10 years ahead of me, but you guys have got 30 and 40 years ahead of you. And this kind of thinking is what is going to take us forward.
Yeah.
I really think so. I mean, you've got to talk more about what you do, not just to progress in the areas that you've decided to stay with. You would also be that voice, that people around you hear. And actually envy the fact that you have this holistic life. Yeah. How can we produce more Aishwaryas and Karanits, That's what we need to take us forward in a sustained way.
It's true, ma'am. I think one of the key features in sustainable mindset that I figured is to be happy in what you do. Is to be happy in how you
and drive yourself.
Yeah, if I don't get a project today, it's not meant for me. Maybe I have something better tomorrow. That should be my thinking. That's sustainability for me. If you ask me, Aishwarya defines sustainability to you, I've realized that yes, I've got a lot of things. People call me a girl born with silver spoon, okay? Because I am who I am. But I've had my own share of problems. I'm able to live happy, not because I'm looking at someone above me and saying, I don't have them. Or not looking at someone below me and saying, I have more than what they have. But because I'm happy with what I have.
With no how would I put it? When I said that, it is your holistic thinking that I was talking about.
No,
And your out-of-box thinking.
I'm telling you that this is how the world perceives you as a person.
Yeah.
But
But that doesn't matter.
It doesn't. It really doesn't, which is why I'm here and I'm like talking. You spoke about the voice.
My biggest critic was my mother. Till I got the Ashoka Fellowship. Till I got the Ashoka Fellowship. What are you doing? You don't get a penny for what you do. What is this? You should earn something out of what you do and things like that. Then when Ashoka Fellowship came, she said, okay, there must be some value in what she's doing. And then, of course, she was my...
No, obviously this happens with parents. For example, with me, right, I had a set plan. It was going to be one of the big fours, McKinsey, right, do a Gandhi Fellowship, Lamb Fellowship, and Ivy League education, because we're a service-oriented family, and that's what we've been. But the second I realized there was a problem with the data management and sustainability, right? And the second I threw that at my father, right, I thought he's going to be Superman because I've thrown a spanner into, the 4 or 5 year plan that we'd crafted for me. But he was like, do it. If you don't do it now, when will you do it? And then obviously now Breathe is what it's become over the last 1.5, 2 years. But I guess parents...
plans with parents like that don't really work, Karan, is what I've seen with parents and generation of students that I have. Because you just spoke to me about how you had an education plan, how you were to entrepreneurial plan, right? In 2019, a study came out that said 14% of the work jobs that exist today won't exist.
Yeah.
3 years from now. It's before COVID, okay? And 15% of the jobs will change and transform into something different.
Yeah.
So I don't even know, as a school system, what are we preparing and excited for when 30% of the jobs that exist today in the market are not going to exist. And education is supposed to be the catalyst to employment.
Yeah.
It would be so wonderful, if schools would start looking at the market first and see what are the opportunities and then work backwards.
Yeah.
It would be so amazing if we could do that. And we can still do that, I'm very sure.
We have to do it.
Yeah.
You ask me what's the future of education.
That's the only way.
The only way is to see what is happening for the world outside and prepare the children for that.
Yeah.
And the biggest preparation you need to do is mental preparation. Because at the end of the day, no ChatGPT, no one is going to help you make the decision.
Yeah.
They can tell you what the decision can be, but you have to have the courage to make the decision.
Yeah.
Whether it's hiring someone, whether it's throwing someone else, whether it's putting the system in place, you have to make the decision.
Yeah.
Right? So you need to have that courage, the mental strength to say, I'm going to take ownership of this.
A part of CSR probably should be where, the schools and the corporate world sit together to see what next after AI, because AI is going away.
Like you spoke about asking and talking about impact, to asking about how to measure impact. Today, there's no way to measure an impact.
Yeah.
Only a person can feel an impact.
Yeah.
Right? What education should teach you should be able to make someone feel that way. Should be able to feel that way someone when another
Be an
person
ISO process for the school to see the impact they are actually making.
Yeah.
Do you have any measurable way to sustainability?
Sustainability, we're trying.
Data, we put everything else, but do you know what the future is?
So that's what we're trying to do with ESG, is we're trying to create a way to account for it. But like you said, a lot of the data that we're taking is so quantitative in nature, is becoming difficult to quantify, and to find that balance.
Everything is qualitative and not quantitative in the process.
Yeah.
So how do you...
But it can happen.
It can.
It can. And we're working towards it, I think. So that responsibility.
Increase our quality is more important than increase our quantity in the process.
I agree. I think that's an absolute sort of 100%.
I think you're not limiting it to the school coming out with decision making for the future.
Yeah.
By bringing in parents, by bringing in, communities to come in, and I think that's an answer. I really applaud you for what you're doing. I really, really.
No, thank you, ma'am. It's such a lot.
Yeah.
It motivates me to do more and get up tomorrow and work for it. Even today, you were talking to me saying it's a big day. One thing that I've captured in the mind is one of the biggest concerns I see in leadership roles today, whether it's my teachers, coordinators, or anyone in the entrepreneurship skill, is the art of letting go.
Yeah.
Right? You want to be everywhere. You want to take your decision yourself. You're okay to call 10 people and say, okay, what is the decision? But you want to be the final maker.
Yeah.
The fact that you have to move ahead in time and allow someone else to take the decision and only mentor or coach that decision
Yeah.
itself is a very hard thing to do.
Very
Like,
hard. Very, very.
the fact that ma'am told me it's a changing day, I'm actually going to step back, Aishwarya, and do it. That for me is a creative mindset. It's a leader mindset.
Well, that's not that people like most of us leaders don't have a choice. If
Yeah.
you want continuity, you have to give it to the
have
second
to pass it on.
third level.
Yeah.
And in AMBA, and it's got nothing to do with me, but there are leaders at every level.
I agree, ma'am, but some people take a lot of time before they take that decision, and time is crucial.
Like I've got 4 people who got national awards who are intellectually disabled. CII Women Exemplar 2013 for education, first runner-up in 2017 for education without being educated.
That's incredible.
The Sijos got the Helen Keller
Yeah.
for being the exemplary employee of the year, and Jeet has won an international award. This is in MacIver during the pandemic. It was all online.
So letting go and giving
But
people.
it's only because of the fact that at every space there is leadership thinking that's happening. And now it's become a way of life. It's not that I'm still holding on. There are some things that I'm forced to hold on to, but as far as possible, it's all.
That's how we grow, right? We can't scale with one person. We will grow and create that team who actually believe in the cause. Sometimes we fail to create that team who believe in the same cause as leaders. And we both are founders of few companies and stuff. Sometimes I also is a growing stage to let go. I wanted to see what annual day is happening. I'm still doing it. I don't want to be doing it, but I'm still doing it.
In fact, that's a question I was asking my mainstream team. When you're working within schools,
It's not
another
easy.
ball game altogether.
Today, the system has become so much more complicated. It's equal to running a startup. In fact, it's much more difficult.
Oh, definitely.
Because to set up a new startup with the very word startup, it's more easy. But to actually explain to people who came from a certain mindset, engrave change into them, to take their acceptance that you need to believe to the process and the progress that you're doing and take them along in your journey and build that new change is much more harder.
Yeah.
Which is why people probably said that, when second generation and third generation people came to businesses, it failed because we probably didn't have patience.
True.
But it's high time people like us learn patience to listen first and then act rather than act because we think it's right.
And then think and then speak and then listen. Yeah.
Might adapt that to actually that's how.
No, it's true. I mean, I've been constantly thinking about it, Math, and it's the way you inculcate in yourself in order to handle the situation and not say because I'm in this position, I'm authorized to do it. You better listen to it. If with that attitude, you cannot grow. You might have an empire behind you.
But it'll fall the day you're not there.
Yeah.
It will fall the day you're not there. It won't be sustainable. We never talk
These are
about
very interesting questions. Thanks, Karan. Really nice.
No, thank you, both of you, for actually taking the time out and
Anytime.
Thank you, Karan. It was a great conversational learning experience.
I think for me,
Personally.
the learning experience was actually incredible. Right, to hear both of you all speak, and hopefully for everyone that does watch this, right, I hope they take away as much as I did. But thank you so much, Aishwarya. Thank you, Sugandha, ma'am.
More party.
Thank you, ma'am.
Go forward the way you are.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Karan.
guys. Really appreciate you guys taking
Thank you so much. Same here. Thank you.
Thank you.